Hello, I'm Bill Ferguson, and I have a question for you. Are you willing to be vulnerable? For most people, this is a very scary thought because we think that if we're willing to be vulnerable, that's going to set us up to be hurt. But it's actually the other way around. The more you're willing to be vulnerable, the less you're going to be hurt. The more you're unwilling to be vulnerable, you're guaranteed to get hurt. So let me explain. The more you're willing to be vulnerable, your walls of protection come down and you radiate love. And that dissolves opposition and resistance. If you're unwilling to be vulnerable, your walls are going to be up, you're going to destroy love, and you're going to create opposition and resistance. Look at how you feel when you're with somebody who's totally willing to be vulnerable, totally willing to be hurt. You feel happy, you feel alive, you feel empowered, you feel loved. Now look at the face of somebody who's totally willing to be hurt. What do you see? You see aliveness, you see happiness, you see joy. Now look in the face of somebody whose walls are thick, somebody who's totally unwilling to be hurt. And what do you see? You see the exact opposite. You see fear and upset. That person shuts down. And notice how you feel when you're with somebody whose walls are thick. We feel threatened. We feel not okay. And automatically, our walls go up. So where this is really important is in relationships. Let's say you and I have a relationship, and it can be any kind of relationship. It can be friends, it can be romantic, it can be family. But let's say we have a relationship. Well, the more I'm willing to be vulnerable, the more I'm willing to feel my hurt, then my walls come down. And when my walls come down, I radiate love. You then feel safe. You're able to be you around me. And then automatically, as I'm willing to be vulnerable around you, automatically it makes it safe for you to let your walls down. And when your walls are down and my walls are down, the love in me can connect with the love in you, and you create a very, very special relationship. Now, if you're not willing to be vulnerable, the opposite happens. So I'll put up my walls to protect myself. I'll put up my walls of protection. But notice you're going to feel disempowered. You're going to feel threatened. And then it's going to force you to put up your walls. And when my walls are up and your walls are up, it is impossible to have that one heart to another connection. It is impossible to have that experience of love. Instead, what happens is you create conflict, you create suffering, and at the very best, you're going to have a superficial relationship, and more likely, a very destructive one. So one of the keys to life is that willingness to be vulnerable, that willingness to be hurt. Now, the willingness to be hurt doesn't mean set yourself up to be hurt. You do whatever you need to do. You say no when you need to say no. The willingness to be hurt, the willingness to be vulnerable is a state of mind. I'm willing. It's totally separate from your actions. In your actions, you do what works. But in your heart, I'm willing. I'm willing. When you're willing to feel your hurt, that allows the hurt to come and go and dissipate. When you're unwilling to feel the hurt, it turns into pain. Another thing that's interesting is the more you're willing to feel your hurt, you won't be. The more you're unwilling to feel your hurt, you're guaranteed to be. Another interesting thing. We put up our walls to protect us from the hurt. But what side of the wall is the hurt on? The hurt that we're avoiding isn't outside of us, it's inside of us. Our walls of protection don't keep the hurt out. Our walls of protection keep the hurt in. So I want to be vulnerable. I want to have an open heart. Because the more I'm willing to have an open heart, the more I'm willing to be vulnerable, the hurt that is in the way, it comes forth, it goes. And then the more I create an experience of love, and then love comes right back. I can honestly say that I experience more love in my life now than I ever thought possible as a human being for any human being. And where it comes from is that willingness to be hurt again and again and again. And then again, the irony is the more you're willing to be hurt, you won't be. The more you're unwilling to be hurt, you will be. And remember that the willingness is a state of mind. It is totally, totally separate from your actions. I'm willing to be hurt. And I'm going to do what I need to do to have my life be great. So, are you willing to be hurt? I invite you to create that willingness to feel your hurt again and again. Open your heart, express your love, and notice what happens around you. So if you want to learn more about this and want to learn more about how to create a great life, go to my website, masteryoflife.com. And if you have any questions or comments, please post them and I will definitely get back with you. And remember that anytime there's a relationship or an area of life that isn't working, that which we think is the problem, ultimately it's never the problem. It's always the symptom of something deeper. And when you can resolve the something deeper, you restore your ability to see clearly, solutions appear, and that area of life clears up. So if you want to learn more about all this, go to my website, masteryoflife.com, and I look forward to hearing from you. Bye.